Well, hello there. Thanks for coming back. I want to show you something, though. We're going to talk about remote server administration tools, often known as RSAT. So why don't we just dig right in? Accessing devices remotely becomes increasingly important for businesses with multiple offices or remote employees. Okay? So, remote servers are designed to support users who are not on the local area network, that's the LAN, but need access to it. However, when you're looking at how to connect to remote servers or desktop interfaces, you might run into a few early issues with configuration access permissions or not even having the right tools for the job. Now, you can handle some parts of remote server administration manually, or you can use a tool to automate the more tedious or difficult tasks. But before you get started with using remote server administration tools, you're going to need to know how to access a server remotely from a practical perspective. So there are a few steps you're going to need to take, as well as some preconditions you'll need to meet before you can connect to a remote machine, whether it's a desktop workstation or a server. And if you don't actually know or are unfamiliar with the steps, how to connect to remote server machines, just follow this. So you got to make sure the computer that you want to connect to, the remote desktop or server, is actually turned on and has a network connection. Some remote administration tools can connect to a sleeping or even powered off devices, but not every single one of them. Then you got to ensure if the remote administration tool requires both client and server applications, that both are installed and enabled on each device. Then make sure that you have the name or the IP address of the server or device to which you plan to connect. Also ensure all permissions have been enabled for remote connection to the machine. And then double-check firewall settings, because they could prevent a remote connection. I know it seems pretty simple and straightforward, but you would be surprised at how many people get tripped up. Now, if you want basic remote access tools, you can set up a remote desktop connection. If you're on Windows, use the built-in Remote Desktop Access program, the Windows Remote Desktop Server Service. So this exists by default on all Windows machines and is ready out of the box for connecting to other Windows machines. For the host machines, you have to ensure Windows Remote Desktop is enabled to allow access from other machines. And when you try to connect to your remote server using Remote Desktop, you can select which resources will be shared or connected with it by selecting Local Devices and Resources, selecting which ones you want to share, and then typing the IP address of the remote server in the remote computer IP address entry box of the Remote Desktop Wizard. The problem with Windows Remote Desktop, though, is its features are kind of limited and can only connect to certain machines in specific circumstances. So if you're looking for something to connect across different operating systems and do more than just have a look at the host machine screen, look into remote server administration tools. Another Windows tool set you can check out, though, is called Remote Server Administration Tools. What do you know? Now, these can be downloaded, and it's going to help you manage remote Windows servers from one client. Nonetheless, you can still also look into third-party software, as many of these are designed to access remote servers regardless of the operating system and also include a large number of monitoring and optimization tools. So the Remote Server Administration Tools, RSAT, have been with Windows Server since Server 2000. Now, in various versions of Windows, the tools are sometimes included, and sometimes they need to be downloaded from the Microsoft website and installed. But in Server 2016, these tools are included as optional features, and those can be installed using the Add Roles and Features wizard in Server Manager, so no downloads required. Let's have a look at the following tools, which are going to be included as part of that installation. SMTP Server Tools, Hyper-V Management Tools, Hyper-V Module for Windows PowerShell, Hyper-V GUI Management Tools, Windows Server Update Services tools, API and PowerShell commandlets, User Interface Management Console, Active Directory users and computers snap-in, Active Directory sites and services snap-in, Active Directory domains and trusts snap-in, Active Directory Administrative Center snap-in, ADSI Edit snap-in, Active Directory Schema snap-in, by the way, it's now registered, Active Directory command line tools, Active Directory module for Windows PowerShell, IIS management tools, and the IIS management console. Now, you will require a Windows Server 2016 computer with the graphical management tools and infrastructure installed in order to install the Remote Server Administration Tools, or RSAT, using the Server Manager graphical user interface. Let's have a look at how to do that. So to install the Remote Server Administration Tools, RSAT, on Windows Server 2016, it's going to go something like this. On the Windows Server 2016, open Server Manager. If Server Manager does not start by default, just press the Windows and the R key together. Type Server Manager in the Open field and press Enter, or just click the OK button. On the Server Management main window, just click Add Roles and Features. Once you're in the Add Roles and Features wizard, under Installation Type, check the Role-Based or Feature-Based Installation radio button and click Next. Now in the Add Roles and Features wizard, under the Server selection, just check Select a Server from the Server Pool radio button and select the server that you want to install the Remote Server Administration Tools on, and click Next. Now, in the Add Roles and Features wizard, under Server Roles, click Next. And in the Add Roles and Features wizard, under Features, scroll down and check Remote Server Administration Tools, that's this checkbox, and click Next. Now, if prompted to add features, accept the defaults and click Add Features, then click Next. If the web server role page displays, accept the default and then click Next. In the Add Roles and Features wizard, at the confirmation page, click Install, and that'll begin the installation of the RSAT, or Remote Server Administration Tools. So the installation of the Remote Server Administration Tools, or RSAT, will begin, and the progress will then be displayed. Now, this installation should not actually require a restart of the server. When the installation of the Remote Server Administration Tools is complete, you can find all the RSAT under the Tools menu in Server Manager. So installing and setting up remote desktop or remote server administration tools can seem daunting, but by using the right software, you can follow a relatively simple process, and that'll get you up and running in no time. Now, in many cases, using third-party software could save you some time, even if you have to spend a little bit of time to get it set up to begin with. Now, when considering how to connect to remote server devices for administration and access, a good approach is going to be to use a remote server manager, because these tools usually have features to simplify the entire process. A lot of them provide remote server monitoring and remote server administration tools together. In fact, to the point where you can just automate many of your tasks. So a great tool to check out is SolarWinds Server and Application Manager, they call SAM, with a Remote Office Polar, or ROP. So SAM can easily monitor servers anywhere to provide the insights you need. Okay? SAM offers features for in-depth server monitoring and administration, including a tool through which you can see metrics for remote servers and applications across multiple locations. So this allows you to continually check on server health and performance with remote and local devices all in one unified view. In fact, you can go well beyond the level of monitoring possible through manual means, especially if you need to integrate with multiple servers. For some remote control server administration tools, you will need to pre-install a host or a piece of software on the remote machine before the tool can access it for remote troubleshooting. But for most, the installation is quite simple. Download the installer for the tools, such as the SolarWinds Orion installer for installing SAM. Just follow the installation wizard. Then complete the discovery process to discover all your servers, applications, or devices that you want to monitor. And then begin monitoring. Control your servers remotely and perform administration tasks as necessary. So when using remote access tools for server administration, you can keep a close eye on server hardware health and troubleshoot those same servers even from remote locations. This can lead to a much faster resolution time and certainly prevents IT staff from having to travel from office to office just to fix server issues. In addition to all this, you can keep track of server performance at all times, which can help you catch problems as soon as they arise or even spot a developing problem before it occurs. This process can even help you find root causes of slow application performance, resource overutilization, and response times. Well, look at that. It's time to wrap it up, so we will. Now you know all about remote server administration tools. Okay. See you in the next video.